and Horizons Innovating IP for women's basketball growth. We're going to explore how intellectual property strategies are fueling the expansion of women's basketball. So we're going to first welcome to the stage our moderator, Kerry Bradley, Senior Vice President of Strategy at Horizon Sports and Experiences. And our esteemed panels, Alex Bazzell, President of Unrivaled, Petra, Oman, Vice President of Global Marketing at Shark Beauty. And we all just watched her, the whole world did, Defensive Player of the Year, Napheesa Collier, also known as the co-founder of Unrivaled.
Thank you, Elle. Hi, everybody. Caffeinated? Feeling good? Awesome. I'm a little bit biased, but I do think this conversation really jumps out on the agenda. I'm thrilled to have Alex, Napheesa, and Petra here, not just because they're friends and partners of Horizon Sports and Experiences, but because we've got three critical perspectives represented in this conversation. We've got rights holder, we've got athlete, and we've got brand. And as all of us in this room and across the industry continue to power, sustainable growth for the women's sports ecosystem, the creation of new IP, of new entities, of new assets that delivers value to all of the parties represented on the stage here today is just critical. So we're super excited to dive in. I want to cover three things. I want to cover growth of the women's sports ecosystem and women's basketball in particular. I want to cover fandom and the value of this audience, this fan base, to rights holders, to athletes, to brands. And I want to cover investment, ROI, and where we go from here. Okay, so with that, let's talk growth. It's no secret, we've been talking about it all morning. 2024 has been a monumental year in terms of women's sports just breaking through consistently. Social and digital engagement, viewership, attendance, franchise valuations, media rights negotiations, just through the roof in a really exciting way. So I want to start by asking each of the panelists, from your unique perspectives, why now? And what do you make of the growth that we've seen so far in 2024 and how that's setting us up for the future? Alex, let's start with you.
Sure, thank you. Well, I think first and foremost, the platform has been given, right? I think anyone in women's sports, you've been around it. I certainly have for years now. When you give a great product a platform, then everything else will follow. So I think that's been the most instrumental movement in this entire process is brands are starting to understand the value, dollars are starting to shift, networks executives are starting to understand that these properties are now going to toe-to-toe, if not beating most traditional long-standing men's properties. And certainly, with what we're building, having David Levy and John Skipper, two guys who sat at those desks at Turner and ESPN, they knew what they were getting into early. So I think it's just opportunity, right? And nothing more than that, just finally having opportunity to showcase how good the product is. Absolutely.
And Napheesa, how different did this season feel to you? Obviously coming off a historic WNBA season as a league, but also for you in particular. Let's give her one more round of applause. I mean, what a season. What a season, what a postseason. But what has this season been like for you in terms of just sort of seeing the continued growth of women's sports?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the warm reception, everybody. It has felt amazing, honestly. I did feel the shift this year. I feel like it's been climbing for years. Since the 2020 season, when we were like one of the only sports on TV, we were given that platform. And I think it kind of whetted people's appetite, and we were allowed more and more opportunities, and you've just seen the growth. And so with these new college players coming in, bringing in those new eyes, they may come for one player, but then they stay and they fall in love with others, and it creates growth. So it's been so fun. I mean, again, I was just part of the finals, and the atmosphere in both places were just outstanding. It was so fun. I've never experienced something like that before. The viewership that we're breaking records in so many different times during the year. We're breaking our own records over and over again. So it's been such an incredible experience, and it feels like the tip of the iceberg. So I'm excited for where the sport is going if this is the beginning.
And Petra, from the brand perspective, we're going to talk a little bit more about Shark Ninja and Shark Beauty entering the space, but how have you all, again, from the brand perspective, been keeping tabs on this growing ecosystem, this growing market?
Right, thanks, Kerry. This space is incredibly interesting to us. I don't think there are many companies that are investing in women's sports meaningfully right now. I think there's a natural connection between what Shark Ninja represents, what is our mission, solving consumer problems around the world every day in every household, and then Shark Beauty, right? That we launched a couple years ago. We got into the space and kind of quickly rose to be the market leader in the beauty space. But seeing this opportunity in women's sports and everything that Alex and Napheesa are saying, I mean, the numbers are clear, right? And I think there's increased viewership, increased engagement. I think social media has played a huge part in this. I think players are now developing kind of authentic personalities and are connecting with consumers daily, and these are the same consumers that we're connecting with. So I think the space is now representing an interesting venue for us to tap into this fan base and engage meaningfully.
And in addition to the staggering numbers that we're seeing in terms of growth across the existing leagues, another way to characterize growth of this market is through the development of new IP, of new entities. And represented on the stage here today, we obviously have two brand new women's basketball properties. We've got Unrivaled, and we've got the Women's Champions Classic, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second. Let's start with Unrivaled. A 3-month season, super dynamic format for both the players, the TV viewers, one centralized location down in Miami. Napheesa, why was it important for you and longtime teammate, friend, maybe foe, Brianna Stewart, to develop this league? And can you talk a little bit about the significance of the equity model from the player perspective?
Yeah, Stewie's a friend. I mean, it was a tough ending, but I am so happy for them. But I think we thought it was important for a couple of reasons initially. Being where we only play in the summer, a lot of players are forced to go overseas to make money in the off season, and then also to get better at their game. And that's really hard. You're missing time with your family. You're not in your home country for a lot of people. You're missing holidays, and it's really taxing. You saw a lot of injuries happening where people are playing year-round. They have 10 days between the season, so it's like a 20-day break in a full year cycle. So that's really, really hard on your body. And then also, we wanted to be able to grow the wealth of women's basketball players. We understand that as professional athletes, we want to be compensated as such. And so we're really excited to offer the highest, average salary for women in sports, and to have equity for every player. That was a huge thing for us. And then it also allows you to get better at your game and grow your brand, which is a huge part of our game. Most of our money is made off of the court. And so to be able to grow your brand is a huge thing for us. So when we go overseas, a lot of times your content goes and your branding goes dark because you can't execute with those brands. And so being able to stay in the States and to continue to grow that is huge for our game. So for all of those reasons, we thought Unrivaled would be a perfect solution for that. So we're super, super excited.
I think we all are. Alex, can you talk a little bit about how you and the team are thinking about standing the league up in terms of, operations, fan engagement, fan experience to maximize the shareholder value and really capitalize on this moment?
Yeah, of course. Well, I think it's important to understand that you talk about IP. Well, the strongest IP in all sports, in all leagues, is the athlete. And that's always been our North Star. If we can treat the athletes, give them the resources, pay them fairly, give them upside and equity, the rest of it will naturally take care of itself. And I think the investors understand that with any startup, not just sports, you have to bet early. You have to believe in the mission. You also have to look at the data that's clear. Right? These players individually are bringing over people in waves. Their social media following has been growing hundreds of %. I know when Napheesa started the season, she was at 80,000. Now she's almost at 200,000. That's in the span of 4 or 5 months. So for us and our shareholders, what's easier is we're highly concentrated on 30 women. We're one location. So the expenses for us to put out a great product and compensate fairly is much different than traditional leagues. And at the flip side, you also want to see the valuation growing, which means revenue. So people look at an instance where, well, they're not profitable and they're losing money. And it's like most big organizations are losing money, but they're growing value. And I think that's the offset. You have to invest early, you have to invest for longevity, and you have to build a sustainable model. So when we looked at all those things and brought on great investors, they knew that early on, you have to compensate the players. This is a business. They're in 10, maybe 15-year runway, and all those go into consideration of building the best product for the fans. So for us, we're excited because we've brought on great partners along the way. We have a great media partner with TNT that's now given us the spotlight to go execute this vision. And that's what we've always been about. You build it, everything else will take care of itself, and I think you're seeing that play out.
Product first. Let's shift gears to the Women's Champions Classic. So for those of you who don't know, this is a brand new women's college basketball showcase created by HS&E in partnership with Fox, featuring 4 of the top NCAA programs across the country. We've got UConn, Iowa, Tennessee, and Louisville facing off in a doubleheader at the Barclays Center on December 7th. So I expect to see you all there. Petra, from the brand perspective, and again, thinking about Shark Beauty and Shark Ninja as a relatively new brand in the space, what is the value of getting involved with a new event, a new property, and getting in at the ground floor?
There are several things, Kerry. There is one, there is the exposure, right, that we're going to get. But then second, again, comes down to kind of connecting with our consumer base and tapping into a new consumer base. And what was really important for us is that, you know, the kind of program that we select is that we establish meaningful connections, and you know, we don't just put our name out there, but like truly thinking, how can we kind of connect the dots and, you know, kind of partner with the event to one, increase kind of the fan experience. So we'll be kind of putting out in the Barclays Center, we're going to be putting out styling stations, which is very unusual for, you know, any sporting event right now, but like really catering to the fan base that is coming to these events. And then 2, I think by providing the investment, and we are providing the opportunity to hopefully get this event off the ground, and this becomes an annual thing. And, you know, through this, we've had a lot of discussions around like, we want to feed the loop, right? We want to invest so that women's sports kind of continue to grow, and it's going to be good for us. It's going to be good for women's sports. So again, this is very much a business decision for us, but we're doing it very thoughtfully and looking at kind of how do we insert ourselves where it makes sense and kind of benefits all parties involved.
I think for those of us in and around the women's sports market, you know, we've seen for some time now that this is not just the right thing to do, but as Petra said, this is a good business decision. But in order to make that case, we need data and we need research. So the importance of understanding, tracking, quantifying the impact of these partnerships and of the fan engagement just can't be overstated. So let's talk fandom for a second. Research continues to show that this audience, the women's sports fan base, is highly diverse in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of race and ethnicity. They are highly valuable. They are tech savvy, they are loyal, they are fiercely passionate. They look to reward the sponsoring brands who come in and support the athletes and the teams and the leagues that they love. This is a highly valuable and highly diverse fan base. HS&E, we've just conducted our own proprietary study, so stay tuned for that coming out in the next couple of weeks. But again, the importance of continued research on this audience is super important. So Alex, from your perspective, how are you all looking to capitalize on that? I mean, the buzz, the hype around professional women's basketball right now, through the roof. What are you seeing in terms of fandom and the opportunity to engage these hungry fans in a new way?
Yeah, well, I think you see it playing out with our own social handles with Unrivaled. You know, we've got a great content team, but what we want to provide is access. You know, I grew up a sports fan in St. Louis, and I just wanted to have access to my favorite players. And these are the most valuable women in sports, and now the most followed women in sports. And it's our job to create more access to the fans than they maybe ever seen before. So being able to be in one location allows us some of that. You get to see the dialogue. Keep in mind, we're going to be playing when WNBA free agency is going on. So there's going to be a lot of interesting conversations probably happening in real time under our roof. But I think what we've always tried to say is meet the fan where they're at. Where the fan is today is not where they were even 5 years ago. So you just have to adapt and make it easy for them to follow and support your league. And I think that's what every league's doing. You've seen even the WNBA's growth. Look at their social, how they've handled that by team by team. There's no secret. You put resources behind content, the fans are going to be able to find you and support you.
And Petra, from your perspective, you hit on it a bit earlier, but the value of that audience to you and your brand, how do those kind of characteristics of this passionate, women's sports fan base, women's basketball fan base, how does that align with your overall brand marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think for us, again, it's connecting with a diverse, engaged, loyal customer base that may not be in this beauty space right now, right? And I think that there are several kind of connection points for us. There's one through the event sponsorship, but then there is also, I think, creating connections with players, enabling players to, kind of empowering them to feel confident in their kind of off the court time, on court time. I think that shows if we can do that in the right way, I think that creates an opportunity to establish kind of strong ties to this consumer base. Again, showing that we're not in a just putting our name out there, but like truly kind of how can we see it through?
As much as the audience, the women's sports fan base, continues to grow and diversify, research also continues to showcase that the importance of making women's sports discoverable, making women's sports easy to find on primetime, traditional, linear media continues to be very, very high. So let's talk about the fan base, growing the fan base through traditional media coverage. Alex, you mentioned the multi-year media rights partnership announcement with TNT Sports last week. Congratulations. For yourself, Napheesa, for the players, how important was it to you all to secure a media rights partner in year one? And what specifically were you looking for in that partnership?
Yeah, I think it was instrumental. When we started the process, our vision was always reach over dollars, especially initially. But we found a great partner that we were able to check both boxes pretty nicely. And they're also investing into the business long term, which is helpful. So the priority for us, what we told the players is right now, the majority of your income is off the court. Okay, we want to like Napheesa said, we want to solve for the problem on the court, but also we still want to help give you that platform. TNT, it's hard to argue anyone who has a deeper history in basketball and one of the best storytellers in sports, period. So that is what ultimately drew us to them in the end, is just how accomplished they've been, what they've done, and now how they're already acting as partners with our scheduling and putting us in prime time 3 nights a week. We don't have a single game that's not going to be shown on broadcast television, not a single one, which I don't know if there's a league that can say that, right? So that, to us, we've now done our job for the players to give them that spotlight to showcase just how talented they are.
Petra, similarly, the WCC is going to be broadcast live on Fox. How important is that primetime media exposure for your brand, and how do you think of that asset, that exposure, alongside the rest of your marketing and media assets?
Right. I mean, it's huge, right? I mean, primetime exposure is massive. So getting that is big, and that's kind of the starting point, though, for us, right? And creating a whole 360 marketing plan around that, and seeing how do we leverage that in social media. Again, how do we take the player relationships, the player profiles and personalities that are out there, and how do we push it further? It's in stadium experience, but the access to prime time is huge.
And Napheesa, from your perspective, from the player perspective, again, this growing, passionate fan base, you mentioned, the attendance figures that you saw throughout the season, but what's it been like for you from the player perspective?
It's been awesome. This is what you have always dreamed of, right? And again, just super excited for TNT because Alex kind of mentioned this, especially as a woman in sports growing up, all of your idols are men because those are the ones that you see on TV. So for us to be the ones now on TV and like our favorite fans are always the little girls that come up to you or the moms that come up and say like, my daughter so looks up to you. That's just something that you really dream of because that's not what we had. And the goal is always to be better for the generations coming behind you. So to be so accessible now with such a great partner like TNT where we are on prime time, where you can just turn on the TV and see us. You don't have to like hunt through Facebook or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's a dream come true. And as a player, like playing in front of the crowds that we did this season and how it's been growing in the WNBA, that's such a dream as well. I mean, to have thousands of people cheering for you or cheering against you, both are so fun. So this has just been like such an incredible experience, and I'm so thankful for all the opportunities that I've been able to have through this.
So the landscape is growing. We've covered that. The fan base is growing. We've covered that. Let's talk ROI. Those two things point to tremendous ROI opportunities. So from an investment perspective, slowly but surely, we're seeing more and more brands enter the space, both legacy and new, clearly recognizing that our ROI opportunity. So Petra, what was it that sort of tipped the scales for you all at Shark Beauty specifically, but within the Shark Ninja family, to come on not just, for some activation opportunities, but to come on as a title sponsor of a brand new women's college basketball showcase? What was it for you all that kind of tipped the scales?
So I think for me personally, like I'm a former D1 volleyball player, and growing up, I didn't have a chance to go kind of professionally and make a living, right? Like as much as we wanted to, the opportunities were so limited. So one, passionate about women's sports. Two, as Shark Beauty, back to kind of what we stand for and kind of bringing empowerment to women through kind of making women feel put together and making them feel beautiful and confident in their lives. We kind of saw an opportunity to tap into a different segment. So that was really kind of the motivator. And as we started looking at this, we've been dabbling or kind of thinking about this for years, but then what made the best business sense? So again, a lot of thought went into this, a lot of calculations, right? We're not doing this because, again, like Alex said, this is not a charity. Like, this is a business proposition for us at the end of the day, too. But I think we're marrying up kind of the interest of brand and business with, I think, doing something bigger and hopefully getting in on the ground level will help to kind of fuel this relationship and help fuel where women's sports can go, and we're there to at the start. So I think the opportunities are limitless.
And I think one of the most interesting things about the Shark Beauty inaugural title sponsorship of the WCC is that we're starting now to see more of the endemic brands, more of these female-focused brands entering a space that has, for a long time been dominated by, brands from other categories, let's call it. And we've seen a few of the same names over and over and over again. Can you talk a little bit about the natural alignment and some of those integration and activation opportunities and what makes the WCC, the Women's Champions Classic, a unique platform from an activation perspective for the brand?
I think there's many platforms that we can connect, right? There's the in-venue experience, which I'm really looking forward to. I mean, there's social media, there's the primetime exposure, and we have the product that kind of naturally aligns with, I know now tunnel walk is a big thing, right? Like that naturally kind of aligns with how players are using this product, or how players are thinking about Shark Beauty, and then how consumers can think about Shark Beauty as well. So I think there's a really natural connection And I'm again excited where this can go.
Alex, rounding us out from an investment perspective, what's the value proposition that you're taking out to market, as you engage with investors and prospective sponsors? What does the outlook and the growth trajectory look like from your perspective over the course of the next 1, 3, 5, 10 years? What's the opportunity for investors and brands to get involved?
Yeah, well, Napheesa hit on it. You see the growth with the younger players coming in, their social followings. I was talking with Clara Sai about, we're just getting started. You have Paige Beckers, you have Juju, and those are just to name a few. Like, there are going to be more stars coming in the immediate future that are going to impact and further this growth. The value prop for us is pretty simple. It's the best players in the world. It's the most competitive product that we can possibly put on the market. Although it is South Beach, we're not going down there to just get a tan, although I may need one. It's supposed to bring out the best in sport, which is competition at the highest level. And the last factor for us is, like Napheesa said, people don't realize just how long the offseason is for these players. And they are the top competitors in the world. I came from the NBA side. Those players go to Miami, New York, LA, they're working out, and they're playing together every day. The women don't even have that if they're staying home. So this is a great opportunity to build skill, to build brand, and to compete in the winter when people are sitting down watching college basketball in the NBA. So we're pretty excited about all those things factoring into leading to a tremendous opportunity for brands and for partners that are wanting to come to the table.
Napheesa, obviously this conversation has been more focused on your role as a founder in Unrivaled, but would be remiss not to acknowledge one more time the historic season for the league, for the W, but for you in particular. It was a long WNBA season, a long postseason. You had the Olympics thrown in the middle. You've got the Unrivaled season right around the corner. Will you have a minute to yourself to rest and recharge? And what does 2025 look like for you? What's the outlook from your perspective?
I will have a minute. I do shut down a little bit after the season just to, give my body a break and spend time with family, so I'm excited about that. But I'm so excited for the future. Like I said, if this is the tip of the iceberg, how exciting is that for the future? So to sit down in 2025 and have our league starting, this has been so much work that's been going into this for the past couple of years. So to see that, coming together and to see that execute in 2025 will be amazing. And then going back to my WNBA team in the summer, that'll be really fun. I so loved my team this year. It was such an incredible experience. One of the best teams I've ever been on, just with how close we were. So it was so fun. So I'm really excited. Excited? I don't know. Excited. I'm excited.
Do us all a favor and rest and relax, and we feel bad about ourselves watching somebody like you, a consummate professional in every role, every hat that you wear, every role that you play. So congratulations. As we continue again to power sustainable growth for the women's sports ecosystem, this conversation right here, contemplating the unique perspectives and how to deliver value to the rights holders, to the athletes, to the brands, that's the unlock. So thank you all for being here, being part of the conversation today. Thanks, everybody.